Let's create a handlebar template for the JSON CSV importer. Okay, so tonight we're going to be jumping into an advanced topic, and this one is specifically related to the plugin, the JSON CSV Importer. It's a plugin that I've done videos on before, but basically we've been having conversations in the Facebook group about the easiest way for brand new users to get sort of key information into their vault for the first time. Anyone who doesn't work with data regularly might just sit down at their computer and start sort of copying every item, every monster, every spell into their vault one by one, and think that's the only way for them to do it, or the most efficient way for them to do it. This video is really about, I'm just trying to help you guys learn how to make a handlebar file or a handlebar template that can be used with the JSON CSV Importer tool. And the idea is that you should be able to go out onto your web platforms, your Googles, do a search for data related to the TTRPG that you're playing, download that data, create a handlebar file that uses that data and converts that converts that source data using the handlebar file into lots and lots of notes in a very short period of time. So, and I'm talking minutes here, guys, like the import process here. You could go from 0 notes to 100 notes in the time it takes you to get a coffee, which is really, really cool. So let's jump in and have a look, and I'll show you what it is that I'm talking about. All right, so what we need to do is obviously we'll start just by, let's run through the basics. We're going to go to Community Plugins, do a search for the JSON CSV Importer. All right, so it's by filing. Filing's like a god and a legend in the TTRPG space because he makes us all these cool toys. We can see here JSON CSV Importer, come through, do the install, get this thing enabled, right? And then we're ready to start looking for data. So what we're going to do is go to Google, all right? In this case here, I've already started Googling, but you need to be asking yourself the question, like, where am I going to get the data? So things you need to think about, what game am I playing? Am I doing D&D 5th edition, Pathfinder, Pathfinder 2, AD&D, Vampire the Masquerades, like whatever. You need to go to Google and find the data that you're looking for. And Alright, so here's just where can I find a database. There's one option there. If we go to Pathfinder, I'm going to do a search for the SRD. SRD stands for System Reference Document. Usually in this sort of TTRPG realm, you'll find SRD is it's a group of rules, usually mechanics, that the game company has released for free. And what that means is that other third-party applications can replicate those rules into their applications or into their own modules or adventures that they write. And because of that, you'll quite commonly find the SRDs are easy to find on the internet. So Pathfinder SRD, CSV, for example, what I'm saying is I want to find Pathfinder system reference document in a CSV format. And if I go enter, the first option comes up and says, well, here's the CSV database for Pathfinder RPG. Okay, now you can use JSON. I'm going to do a separate video on JSON for this specific how to create a handlebar because the process is a little bit different on how you make that handlebar template. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to use a CSV database. So I'm going to use this option here. I don't play Pathfinder, so probably not the greatest option for me to use. But just showing you that it is possible to do this with other things. So this person is hosting their CSV data on GitHub, which is something you'll commonly see. GitHub is a fantastic place to store these sort of files. We can see that here we've got all these files. So I just do a bit of research and have a look what I'm looking for. In the raw folder, I can see here that there's magic items, spells. This sounds fantastic. It looks like I can't preview it because it's too big. Alright, it's way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the head of the group, which is the Pathfinder DB, where the code button is, and I'm going to click that and click download. What's going to happen here, that's going to open up. I can then have a look in here and go, all right, so what is it? So there's a CSV folder that takes my fancy. What's in the CSV folder? And if I download skills and open that up in Excel, what have we got? All right, we've got a simple table of all the skills. I don't really want that. I'm looking for something with a bit more meat in it. So in this case here, I'm going to go back to this folder, have a look in raw. What do we got? We got spells, so we got magic items. That sounds fantastic. So if I open up magic items, you can see here that I've got a full table. I've got the names, full table of 2,333 magic items. So that's fantastic. This certainly looks like something that I could use. All right, so what I've done is here's one I prepared earlier. I've just taken all the items out, guys. I've run it back down to 10 for the purposes of this video, just because importing 2,333 magic items into this process is going to take at least a coffee, okay? But if I'm doing 10 items, it's going to take at least a couple of breaths. So for the purpose of this video, just to speed us up, I'm using 10 items. So I've already extracted this data and saved it. I haven't made any other changes. What I am going to do though is just go through and have a look at the column names, because the column names are very important. Now it's important to understand that the JSON CSV importer and the Handlebar templates, they do not support spaces or special characters in your column names. So one of the first things you need to do is go through and clean your data. So what we're going to do is just come through here and just have a look, read everything, and make sure there's nothing in here that has spaces. And you can see here there are some areas where there were spaces maybe. So full text is full text instead of full space text. Because the spaces are gone, I can use this. If there was a space in my heading, I would need to go through and change it. Looks like though, there's no issues there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this over to the right. I'm going to bring up Obsidian and just make a bit of space. And what I recommend you do is you have a folder where you put your handlebar templates. Alright, now I've already done that, so under my templates section, you can see that I've got different subcategories for my templates. One of those is handlebar template. Alright, now if I expand that out, obviously I play 5th edition normally, but we're going to do this for Pathfinder. I'm just going to right click on the folder where I want to put this and go new note. And I'm going to call this Pathfinder. What are we talking? We're talking magic items. CSV. I start it with handlebar, prefix it, Pathfinder magic items. So now I know that this handlebar is specific for, it's a handlebar template, it's for the Pathfinder system, it contains magic items, and it's relying on the CSV format. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to design effectively what my items are going to look like. And what I recommend for you to do this, we're just going to go into edit mode, and you kind of like just mock up what you want this to look like. So I'm going to make some front matter because front matter is very handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go name, and for the purposes of this, just so you guys understand what this looks like, I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to have something called an aura. I'm going to paste this here. Alright. It's got a CL, 20, slot, this goes in the item slot. Gee, this Pathfinder's technical, isn't it? Price, there is no price in this one, so I'm just going to do that. Weight. Alright, see what I'm doing is I'm copying this over here. And what I'm doing right now is I'm creating front matter. And if anyone doesn't know what front matter is, I recommend you check out my video that I made yesterday on Dataview. That will show you what's going on there. Alright. Source, yeah. We've got price and we've got cost for some reason, but it looks like that's all empty. There's a group here. I tend to avoid putting things like the description into my front matter because they're so big that sometimes that you'll find that they've actually got like characters and options that break your front matter. So just be careful with creating elements in your front matter that are just really, really big. full text, base item. I'm not putting it all in here, guys. I'm just putting in what I think is going to be interesting. You can see there's a lot of just junky information here that's probably used by the website maybe. So this is my front matter. And this is just for me to think. Now, for some people, this would be enough. You know, this gives you a good sort of level to start off with. But what I want to do is I want to design what this note looks like. Okay, so we want to have the name Magi Staff of Mammoth. All right. Now I kind of want to have the description in here, so I'll copy this in here. Alright, now you can see that this has a few issues in the text. I'm going to ignore them for the purpose of this video, but just note that I could fix them after the fact using probably a search and replace. I'm going to assume that there's actually, like, this probably means something. Maybe I'll just Google it. Sometimes you see funky symbols. There you go. So looks like, there we go. So this series of symbols is used in some sort of code to replace it with something else. Looks like it might be, you know, a comma, bracket, whatever. I'm going to ignore it for the purpose of this video, guys. Like, just be aware that this is something you come across. I would usually fix this after a fact, right? You'll find that once you do your import, there's probably a pattern to where these are occurring, and you could use a tool like Sublime Text, for example, and I've done a video on this before, to do a folder search and then update all of the files in this folder and get rid of that same pattern and replace it with whatever it's meant to be. It's probably all that's required here. Anyway, Magi Staff of the Mammoth. I've got my text there. I need to think through, like, what other information do I need? And Jesus, guys, like, I have no idea how to play Pathfinder. So let's have a look at item stat block. Like, what does this look like? Wondrous item, uncommon. I'm just thinking like something like D&D might work. I know Pathfinder is famous for being more complex. What do we got? Let's just do this. Magi Staff of the Mammoth. I wonder if someone has Googled it. No, it's not coming up. Here we go. Alright, so this looks good. So what I'm looking for here is the layout of how a Pathfinder item is kind of laid out. Alright, so I'm just going to take a, well, actually I won't take a screenshot. I'm just going to drag this to the other screen. Alright, just know that it's over there. But effectively all I'm doing is using it as a reference document. Alright, because now as I build this, I'm going to do the same thing. So it says source, I'm going to bold that, and now we want the source to be obviously the source from up here, so classic treasures. Alright, now we've got the aura. I'm going to bold it. We put strong all skulls in here. Slot. Here's the item. Bold that as well. I'm just control being to make it bold. It looks like we do slot, price, there's a dash, and we're doing weight. Alright, then we have the description. a matter of taste, really. Let's do that. Description. Alright, so therefore we get it there. Alright, that gives us our item. What other information have we got up here that we might need? What's the CL? CL sounds like it might be useful. I'm going to bold these. Alright, we got the group. No, that's what the step block. Oh no, CL's up here next to Aura. It's probably like some Pathfinder viewers watching me going, "You're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong." 20, yep, there we go. Alright, so this is my magic item. Alright, this is what I'm aiming to create. It's a whole bunch of notes that look very similar to this. And what I want to do is I want to create one note for every item that's in my CSV that pretty much looks like this. Okay, so this is what I want it to look like. This is the output that I'm aiming for. So now we're going to turn this into a handlebar template, because right now this is just another note. Okay, I haven't done anything special yet other than manually create what the note would look like. So we're going to come over here and we need the name. We're going to delete the name and we're going to put curly bracket, name. We're going to come into Aura. We're going to go curly bracket, Aura. And what I'm doing is I'm replacing, well, I'm telling the template, sorry, now, that I want to pull the information from the name column into this field. Alright, so name is going to equal Magistaff the Mammoth on this line. The Aura is going to equal the Strong All Schools on this line. It's going to do that for one note, and then it's going to create another note called Magistaff of the Deep Black. So again, the name will be Magistaff of the Deep Black, and then the Aura will be Strong All Schools. Alright, so I'm going to do this for everything. So slots. Weight. Group. Note that I'm getting the names exactly the same as they are in here. Alright, that's important. So if they use a capital, you use a capital. And don't forget that you cannot have spaces in your names or special characters. Base item. Okay. So that's my front matter now. Alright, so remember from my previous video, front matter is where you store your variables. A variable is effectively a box that contains a piece of information. So what I do is I say I'm going to make a box called the note box. I'm going to put the name of this magic item into the name box. And what that allows me to do is in my notes further down the fact, I can say, hey, what's the name? Give me the name. I take the name box. I take the information out of the box and it says, oh, all right, this is the magic staff for the mammoth. All right. That's effectively what goes into your front matter. And for a lot of people, front matter might be all that you need. But as you can see, I am going a bit further. So if we go down here, we can do source. All right. So what I can do is I can copy this. All right. And I can put my source in there. I'm not going to recommend that. Okay. I don't think that is the right approach. And if you haven't watched my video on Dataview, I do recommend you go back and do that. Because what we're going to do here is actually use the Dataview plugin. And I'm going to bring it up here so you can see what I'm doing. So Dataview. All right, and we're going to use something called an inline query. All right, so see this here? This is an inline query. Now an inline query allows us to do a bit more advanced stuff. And this here is getting a bit more advanced, guys. You don't have to do this if you're not comfortable, but I do recommend it because you'll see it's quite beneficial. So just to run this again, you can just copy this information down to here, where item would be slot, where price would be this, and where weight would be in here. All right, and that will replace those information elements in there with all of that. But in this case here, I think that we can do better. So we're going to use Dataview. We're going to do an inline query. And we're just going to take this little thing here, equals this file dot name. All right, and what I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to paste this information, this dot file dot, and I'm going to go name. All right, and what this is doing is it's saying, all right, look in this file and pull me the name field from my front matter. So in this case, whatever the variable or whatever the value that's stored in name will be copied down here. Now the benefit of this is that you can then stick a database folder over the top of this whole thing and control your magic items and make magic items from your database folder, which will then have drop-down fields for all these sort of things. Like, this is future planning I'm doing here, guys. Like, just a reminder, you don't have to do this, but I think it is beneficial. So you can see here, I'm doing this file.aura. I'm going to go this file .cl. Alright, we're going to go this file .slot. Actually, sorry, I did that in caps. I'm going to go lowercase because I'm bringing in the variable name. Alright, not the variable value. So I'm bringing in the no caps version here. And I do like to make it so my metadata has no caps in it usually. Alright, I'm just going to copy this in here just for the sake of it, so I don't have to keep doing this all. We're going CL, we're going slot. I'm going to change this one to price. We're going to change this one to weight. Alright, what have we got? We've got group, we've got source. We don't have base item. Do they use that anywhere? I'm just going to, for the sake of this, I'm going to make up a group and a base item into my thing for the sake of it. What do we got? We got base item, yeah, group. Just going to do it here. The data's there, so, don't see why we wouldn't use it. Alright, and then we want to do base item. I'm going to go this file dot base item. Alright, then my description. We're going to get rid of what's here. We're going to do, again, we're going to pull this in from here, so we're going to call it description. And what that will be doing is basically looking into here, it'll be pulling the description column down, alright, and it's going to copy that into there. Now if I go into preview, you can see we're getting dash dash dash, yeah, smudgy stuff, the mammoth. The name, I've got to remember the name, otherwise the name will be used, like it'll be the Magi staff of the mammoth on every single magic item. So again, we're going to grab the name, we're going to pull that in here. Alright, there we go. So now you can go into preview, you can see that this looks absolutely like a waste of time, but this is incredibly useful right now. Alright, because this isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for what we built before, but this is how we're going to design our notes. So we have front matter, we have an actual visible note that's going to be usable at the table for us to use. There's other things we could do here as well, like maybe you have a picture in your vault that is called, I don't know, is there some magic schools in here? Maybe you have like a picture for an artifact or a picture for a weapon or a wondrous item. Alright, and you actually have a picture in your vault that is called, let's say, artifact.jpg or artifact.png. You could actually then do something like, okay, we're going to put that picture in and it's going to be called artifact.png. Alright, and then that would obviously make the picture visible. But in this case here, what you could also do is actually replace that with artifact name.png, and then the name would be replicated into here because it'd be pulling from the Magi staff of the mammoth in this case, but let's just say, like for the situation I was talking about before, if you had a picture per group, you could do this. All right, and it will bring in the group information, replace that, effectively create the name of your image, and therefore when you render your note after the fact, it will create that. All right, we're not going to do that for this video. I'm going to get rid of it. But we're now ready to test it. Now I've built this thing live, so I don't know if this is going to work, but let's find out. We're going to come over here. We've got the JSON CSV importer installed at this stage. And if you do, you should have this little magnifying glass icon. Your experience may differ depending on the theme that you're using, but obviously mine is red. All right, so we click that button and it's saying, all right, so let's choose the JSON CSV file. This is the data source. So I'm going to go to my downloads. I've got my ready data, which is the same readydata.csv that I used over here. All right, we can see that's now in there. Now we choose the template file. So I'm going to go File. I'm going to go into my Vault. Remembering that I put them in my templates folder. I have a Handlebar Templates folder, so it's in there. And here is my Handlebar file. So there we go. Field containing the data. The field containing the area of data, leave blank to use entire field. I'm going to leave it blank. Field to use as a note name. All right, I need to replicate my file over here, so I want the name to be used, so I'm going to use name. Do I want to put a prefix and a suffix? I generally don't, but you could. So a prefix is obviously the text that comes before, suffix is the text that comes after. You may want to do that. I personally don't do it. I like to leave that because if it's in my name, then it's going to break my linking at a later point. In the RealmWorks community, we used to have this thing where like all of the items would have a suffix of the source. So all the SRD items have the 5th edition SRD in the actual suffix. I don't recommend that, all right? Because in this tool, that means that the naming will not link, right? If you write Magi staff of the mammoth in your notes, you would actually have to type Magi staff of the mammoth, comma, FE stat blocks or FE SRD, comma, in order to get the linking to work. So it's just not a very good idea. All right, allow paths in the note name. No, we don't want that. Override existing notes. I'm going to go with yes. Where would we like to put them? So you can see here that I've already got mechanics, spells, and player handbook. I'm going to leave them in my mechanics and my spells. That's where I would like them. I'm going to call it Pathfinder spells. And now we click import. And we wait. Import finished. You can see up here. This actually doesn't show you what's happening, right? Once you click import, don't click the button again. Sometimes if you're doing, let's say, 1,300 items, you might need to go get a coffee, guys, and come back. Sometimes you do see there's error after error of like error things coming up on your screen. That doesn't necessarily mean it's failed, all right? But just wait until you see the import finished or the import failed sign, and then you know it's done, all right? And once it is done, we can get back out of here, close it down. All right, we'll expand this a little bit so we can see what's going on. And then we're going to come in here and have a look. So where do we put it? We put it into mechanics. We put it into spells. And we put it into the Pathfinder spells. So you can see it has created the Pathfinder spells folder for me, which is fantastic. But more importantly, we have notes here. So we have Magi staff of the month. Let's see what happened. All right, looks like we have the front matter has worked. All right, so if we go Magi staff for the mammoth, you can see that's copied in here. Stronghold schools, yep, CL20, slot item, there is no price, the weight has worked. If we go back to the group, that is artifact, the source is classic treasures, and the base item is missing. There it is, quarterstaff. So it looks like that's worked. What doesn't appear to have worked is my coding here that's kind of brought them back. And I think I may have this wrong. Hang on. Do I just do this? .cl. There we go. So I've made a syntax error in my Dataview query. So I need to take the file off. There we go. So this is what we're looking for now. I want it to look like this once it's finished. So I've made a mistake. All right, and this happens, guys. This is actually a really good training situation. We'll come back to Handlebar Pathfinder CSV. All right, we're going to go into edit mode, and all we're going to do is just update our template to remove the file dots. All right, now we can actually tell that it's working, and I should have picked up on this previously. So CL is working, yep, because you can see it's bringing in those items. All right, so we've done that. Let's go through and let's do that exact thing again. So let's go choose files. We're going to go to where I've saved the data, so the ready data.json, which is my source data. We're going to go back to templates. It's in my vault. Let's have a look at templates, handlebars, and there's my Pathfinder, so that's my template. We got the name is already there. It's brought this in here. This one here is important in this situation here, right? So override existing notes. So I've made an error in my first import. I'm going to re-import everything, and by ticking this option, I override everything. All right, you can see it's deleted. It's doing some movement. Import finished. We're now done. Now we can close that, and if we come back up here to staff of the mammoth, now look at that. We're getting that nice and clean. Take note as well that it also looks like the tool is rendering that nasty text that we had before, so that's good as well. I don't even need to fix it. Looks like, you know, I imagine it's probably meant to look like this. It's probably meant to be like a break line. So sometimes you can go through and clean this up. There are more technical ways that you can do that and put break lines into things. Regex is a way of doing that, and look, if you're a more advanced user, you might find value in that, but I would say just be careful with that, guys. That can be very dangerous. Alright, so Mammoth stuff, Magi stuff for the Mammoth worked. Let's just do another check. So it's Magi stuff and the Necromancer. What have we got here? Alright, we've got our metadata. Alright, it's pulled in all of the detail. I'll go into edit so you can see the metadata is between the dashes. Alright, if we go back into preview mode, you can see though that we're now bringing in the information. So Magi stuff, the Necromancer. Looks like I've made another error. And this is just me not paying attention. This one needs to be source. Okay. Aura, Strong or School, CL20, item, 5 LBS, artifact, quarterstaff. My text is there. It's looking nice and clean. We can see here that the Magi staff is matching. Strong or Schools, CL equals 20. There is no price. Let's just go actually, because we can see most of it's coming through. Let's check one of these here. So the Frost Kiss Whip, because it's got a bit more interesting data. So Frost Kissed Whip. Check that one there. Alright, obviously I need to change this to source. Alright, but the aura is strong necromancy and transmutations. Alright, that is correct. CL is 18, that is correct. We've got an item, yep. We've got a price of 128,000, yep, we're doing well. 2 LBS, right? Like, this is working. The base item has worked, it's created this thing automatically. Alright, so I'm almost there. I've done a bit of testing, I've discovered another error. I'm going to fix that this time, change this to source. Alright, so that matches the information that I want to pull in. Alright, I'm going to come back here to the JSON importer and just run this again. And look guys, sometimes I will do this like 10 times per file in order to get this right. Like, don't feel that, you know, you're not allowed to do this. This is part of the process of making data. It's just going through and just doing trial by error sometimes. Alright, import. Import finished. And there we go. Alright, so we've got all the data. This is a good example actually of where data can sometimes be really funky. So that code there is what's in the source, but when you actually render it, you can see that equals that. Okay, so little things like that occur in data guides. You're going to come across that in some situations. As long as it renders nicely, I can see that that's good. One thing I like to do with the things that I'm making, and I've seen a few people comment on this, is just to see how it links. So if we go new note, and I'm just going to go link test, I'm going to come in here, and I just want to do Magi staff of the mammoth. All right, and just see what it looks like when you hover. Okay, just to make sure that it's not taking up too much screen space or it squishes. You know, when you hover over it. This is a nice, clean-looking sort of hover over thing, so I quite like that. I think I'll go through and work with that, so that works well. All right, now I'm just going to delete that because I don't need it. I've now made my items. All right, so hopefully, guys, you can see how severely useful this is. All right, you could do this with monsters. You could do this with spells. Whatever you want, you can do it with, right? If you can find a data source on the internet that in this situation here is in a CSV format, or think outside the box. Maybe it's a Google Sheets, or maybe it's a Excel document. Maybe it's even just a HTML table on a website that you found. But you know, anything that's in a table format that you can get into a CSV format. And don't forget that you can convert other types of file types to CSVs by just putting it into Excel and saving as a different format. All right, so you've got all these different sort of formats that you can use, all right, that Excel can read from. If you can read from it, you can save it, and you can save it to a CSV format. And now, CSV is a very simple format, so just a heads up, if you find something like an Excel document, sometimes you'll have lots of tabs, for example. CSV is generally just the one sheet though, so you know, you might want to copy one sheet to one Excel notepad and save that as a CSV file in order for you to use that as a data source. All right, and just a reminder, some common issues that we see is column names containing spaces or containing special characters. Make sure you go through and clean those up before you proceed. But yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of just how sort of easy it can be. A reminder, you don't need to do this. You definitely could in your handlebar. If you don't want to use Dataview, as I said before, just go through and copy all of these in like this. I'll just finish this off for you. I might even do this just so you guys can just see what this looks like once it actually has done the import. Price. The only reason I don't do this, guys, is it just means that you're literally, you know, if you ever come in and change this note, which you probably won't, let's be honest, but it might happen, it means that you would need to edit this information in 2 spots instead of 1. And since I'm lazy, I like to use these little shortcuts that are provided by the system. Alright, so this is what it would look like with a full handlebar template. Alright, where obviously the name's been pulled inside the curly brackets is going to bring the information in from here. So just to show you how this would work, we're going to come up here, we're going to do the whole process again. We've got the ready data, we're going to use a handlebar template, we're going to click import. Does its thing. Import finished, and now we can come up here to Magic Star for the Deep, and let's just have a look. You can see that that information is now copied literally exactly as it was. Okay, so there's no data view shortcuts going on anymore. It's just there, and you know, that could work. While we are here, I'm just going to throw this idea out there for you guys. Sublime text. Alright, if we use Sublime text to go open folder, and we're going to come into Obsidian Vault and come down to our, we're going to this time go into the mechanics, into the spells folder where we put this, and we're going to select the folder where we have all the items. Alright, so we can see this here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find these. Alright, I'm going to show you how I would fix that. So I'm going to find those in my notes. I'm going to go find in files. I'm going to put that in there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this here. Ooh, that was the bad idea. Don't press enter. Let's try that again. Find in files, come in here. I'm going to press shift enter to create a new line. Alright, so we've now got a space, a break line, and then a space. And if I click replace all, always take a backup before you do this. Alright, replace all. See how that's now gone and put a break line there. It's made those a lot neater. Yeah, a lot neater. And it saves me from having to go through note by note, line by line, checking this, right? So all I've done there is I found a unique pattern, and that unique pattern is only used in these notes in these very specific places. Alright, we can see that is there, and I'm going to save that. Another thing we can do is where we see these really fancy characters like we were talking before, you can do this, alright, where we just find and replace. Alright, and what that will then do is just go through and replace those really funky characters with the more simplified version of it, so that we don't need to worry about what do those things mean when we're looking at them. Now we can go File, Save All. That now saves those changes into Obsidian, and if we go back to Obsidian we can see that's already updated, and we can see we now have nice neater break lines where that all occurs. So there might be some things still outstand as wrong, so like the staff here looks to me like it should be on a separate line. It looks like we broke something. Oh, it looks like I missed something there actually. So I may have done something silly with that. And that's why I said take backups, guys, like before you do these things. It's looking a lot better though. Yeah, I missed a part of the section. I could actually probably fix this. So just to show you guys how you could do this, if there's more. Alright, so we can now do a search for specifically that character there. So, oh, I'm in the wrong one. So we'll go find this mess that I've made, because I didn't need the semicolon. I'm just going to replace that semicolon with that. Found 11 occurrence of it. I'll save it. And now I've fixed my mess up that I made with that. And that's a lot easier. So yeah, there we go. We've now got a much neater sort of file or folder. It's a hell of a lot cleaner and easier to read. We've made 10 items in the blink of an eye. And guys, like, just think this through. All right, I'm showing you how to really get started with bulk importing here. All right, you can do this with any data source, anything you can find, magic items, monsters, NPC tables, right? Like, they're out there, trap tables. If you want to bring in bulk data into your vault, this is how you do it. And this is a very, very quick and efficient way to do it. Handlebar templates are not challenging, in my opinion, when you consider that you're just literally copying the name of column names into your notes and wrapping them in the squarely brackets. All right, that's all there is to it. So anyway, hopefully this gets you on the right path. I do want to throw an idea out there. If you guys are doing monsters, I'm just bringing up my template here, but insert monster. Alright, so if you're using the stat block application and you know you've got a monster table, you can do this. Okay, might even actually here. Let's go new note and do monster handlebar template. let's go insert monster, which is the TTRPG stat block. And we're going to go monster name. Alright, this would create a stat block with the monster name, right? It imports the name into there, so if you've got a spreadsheet of monsters, that'll work. Another thing I might want to do is have an encounter. So I've got an encounter here, so we're going to again do the name. We're going to do creatures equals name. I'm going to change that to 1. Alright, so name, name, name. And then one thing I like to do in my monsters as well is have an image. Alright, so we're going to go name.png. Alright, so this will create monster name.bar. And then I also do another one, but without the explanation. That has a pipe show to players at the back of it. Okay. And if you were to run this over your monster file, then effectively what will happen is you will have a monster stat block that looks like, let's say it was for Goblin. Keeping in mind that I'm on a 5th edition vault, not a Pathfinder vault. But this should work, I think. Alright. That would, once you run it through the JSON importer, do this. Looks like I missed a little thing there. It would look like this. So you get your stat block, you get your encounter trigger, you get a picture, and you've got show to players there as well. And what that means is you can right click on that if you've got the, well, I've got too many plugins installed. You can send this to new window. Alright, and show to your players if you've got a player facing screen like I do. Alright, so pretty much what that means is from this one screen you've got everything you effectively need in a monster. And if we do our link test, what do we got? Monster Handlebar Template. Alright, we just do our test. We can see once we hover it's nice and clean and easy. And we get all that data in there nice and easily. So just something for you guys to think about if you are importing monsters. This is how I would do it using those systems. And as you can see, like if you had an entire database of monsters, you could pull this off very quickly. So I'll show you in another video how to do the JSON importing. 5th edition players, like there is a lot of JSON files out there that contain all of this data. And the same data that you use to import monsters into the TTRPG stat block can be used to do this exact same process here effectively, just with a JSON flavor, and create these files for you. So very, very quick. So we'll cover this in another video though in more depth, just something to give you a bit of food for thought. Alright, anyway, that's it for tonight guys. That gives you an idea of how to make a handlebar template. Hopefully that's been useful for you. I imagine that should get a number of you started with how to do bulk data imports. So anyway, hopefully it helps. Just want to say huge thanks to my patrons. Appreciate everything you guys are doing. And obviously if anyone wants access to my templates, they are all available to my patrons. So feel free to jump on and say hi. Outside of that, if this video is useful, please do like and subscribe. Certainly appreciate all of my subscribers and the views that we're getting. It's really helping build the community at this point, and the community is growing so quickly, getting a lot of new users on board. So really important that obviously everyone jumps into those social media circles. Facebook group, there's the TTRPG Obsidian Facebook group that's got, you know, we're nearing on 800 users at the stage. I think we just hit, and we're probably going to be 1,000 within, you know, a couple of weeks. So jump in there, guys. We're getting a lot of new members. There's also the official Discord that has the Tabletop RPG channel. Jump in there and have a look as well, because there's a lot of good conversation going on. A lot of people helping new users, and, you know, jump in, be one of those people. So anyway, talk to you on the forums. Have a great night, and we'll speak to you later.